dry and fine. The exception being down here to the south, where I think we could see some heavy showers developing through the Midlands and into the West Country. Now, it's at this time of year where the sun is getting quite strong that we start needing to think about sun cream. The sun index for Saturday is going to be between 3 and 5. If you want to...
As one general to another, he said peaceful.
Private money to build schools and hospitals. Here's our political correspondent Fiona Ross for the first of our reports from the hustings.
Alex Salmond and Tony Blair are at odds over most things, the two most prominent in this campaign being the NATO bombing of Kosovo and the SNP's desire for independence. The Nationalists published their economic strategy for independence this morning. Mr. Blair immediately set about rubbishing it.
Those are spending plans that tax the mind as well as tax the wallet. They aren't plans that can be taken seriously by a party that's putting forward a prospectus for government.
Alex Salmond, sitting further down the table, was becoming increasingly angry and finally intervened, although he didn't actually say anything.
Now, that's just with an hour or so to go.
The Prime Minister also passionately defended the NATO action in Yugoslavia, something that Alex Salmond described as unpardonable folly.
I believe fundamentally it is a battle between good and evil, and it's also a battle between the values and forces of democracy and the forces of dictatorship.
Alex Salmond later defended his interruption of Mr. Blair.
Well, I think it's very unfortunate in the middle of a speech at a charitable function, and that's what the press fund lunch is, that the Prime Minister launched into this PPB attacking the Scottish National Party. So given that he'd broken the rules, I thought, what sort of put down can we have?
The temperature in this campaign is rising. Only 5 days now till polling day.
The SNP published their long-awaited document detailing what Scottish finances would look like under independence. The Nationalists claim Scotland is a rich nation, which would have a budget surplus of £2 billion by 2003. But after repeated questions from journalists, they conceded there's a current deficit of £1.7 billion.
You've just had an answer to the question. That's just what he said. Do you want me to repeat it?
Where's the figure?
Well, if you take 869 and subtract 2.5 billion, you'll get what? Just off the top of my head, you'll get 1.7 billion.
1.7 billion, which is not any form of structural deficit in Scotland, which, as Andrew rightly says, is a superior position to the UK.
Labour said the SNP would fail standard grade arithmetic.
The SNP figures do not add up, and they're not prepared to tell the truth about their plans to raise national insurance taxes and make people worse off. The SNP today have lost any credibility to be a serious political party on the economy.
The Conservatives, unveiling their latest poster campaign against Labour, also rubbished the SNP's sums.
Scotland would have a big financial deficit if it was independent. And of course the Scottish Nationalists will try and cover that up and try and spin a yarn about it, try and make out it's completely different. But the facts are very clear.
The Lib Dems followed suit.
We've never denied that Scotland could be independent if we wanted to, but at what price? The price of breaking up the United Kingdom. What price would it be to recast the whole social security system to allow us to do it? £500 million. It's not worth it.
This won't be the last we hear of the SNP document. It'll be scrutinised in detail over the weekend.
The thorn in the side of Labour's campaign, the Private Finance Initiative, drew blood again today to welcome Tony Blair to Scotland, as one of Donald Dew's Scottish spokesman, John McCallion, stated his opposition to PFI.
My position has been very clear throughout this campaign, and it is that those who are opposed to the Private Finance Initiative must bring forward an alternative to it, because we need hospitals and schools to be built across Scotland, and as yet nobody has brought forward a practical alternative to it.
Mr McCallion's opposition to PFIs is well known. Last year on STV's political programme Platform, he clearly spoke out against the scheme. But raising the issue during the campaign and on the day the Prime Minister is visiting Scotland is embarrassing to the Labour Party. Last night on Scottish Television's Vote 99 programme, Donald Dewar and Alex Salmond came to blows on the issue.
Now let me ask you a question, Donald. Do you carry your party on this issue? And specifically, is John McCallion on board, he's one of your cabinet, is John McCallion supportive of the PFI or not? Straight question, yes or no?
The cabinet is united, and can I say, the spokespeople group is united. But let me just say...
The Labour Party is insisting Mr McCallion has been misquoted. The unions also entered the fray, with public sector union Unison issuing a statement that it would urge its members to strike if staff working at the new Edinburgh Royal Infirmary, earning under £16,000 a year, were denied pensions. Health Minister Sam Galbraith moved quickly to defuse the situation, however, by also issuing a statement saying that pensions would be available to everybody. All in all, however, the PFI issue has once again proved damaging to Labour's election campaign.
Glasgow's controversial Victoria Infirmary has been clear of any blame over the death of schoolboy Imran Khan. But medical teams have been criticised for some of their working practices. Glasgow's Sheriff Principal Edward Bowen published his findings today. They've been welcomed by hospital managers and condemned by Imran's family. Our Chief News Correspondent Jeff Brown reports.
The Victoria's medical director was jubilant at the findings. They proved, he said, what doctors and medical staff had always known.
When I examined the case in a prolonged hospital internal inquiry, I could find no evidence that the nursing and the medical staff involved in the case did anything but their best efforts to a high standard to attempt to care for Imran, and in the end, after he'd collapsed, to do everything they possibly could for Imran.
15-year-old Imran Khan died 8 days after his admission to the Victoria Infirmary following a street fight during which he sustained non-life-threatening injuries. He died, however, from blood poisoning caused by an infection he contracted while in hospital. Telltale indicators, it's alleged, were overlooked and there were ward rounds missed. But still, Sheriff Principal Bowen says nothing makes him think there was a lack of professional care. But there were mistakes made. The staff didn't do everything by the book. But claims of a crisis at the Victoria, said the Sheriff, were emotive and irresponsible.
From the headlines which family have heard so far, they are not pleased with the finding.
Colin Gilmer, seen here on the right, was convicted of Imran's attempted murder after a highly charged trial. It is here at the High Court during the original criminal trial that perhaps the most scathing criticism of medical staff at the Victoria came. Donald Finlay, QC, warned the jury there was a cover-up at work and that the hospital authorities were trying a whitewash. Mr. Finlay is understood privately to be furious at the inquiry's findings, although he wasn't making any public comment this evening. The Khan family, meanwhile, are considering a civil action.
5 anti-nuclear protesters have been arrested while trying to get near a Trident nuclear submarine as it sailed up the Clyde. In a surprise move, HMS Vengeance sailed to Coulport on Loch Long instead of the Faslane submarine base on the Gairloch. The arrest followed attempts by CND campaigners to swim towards the vessel. Mike Edwards reports.
Protesters waited near the Faslane base for the last of the Navy's 4 Trident boats to sail into its new home. The MOD police were there, helicopters were there, but HMS Vengeance wasn't. Possibly in a bid to avoid prying eyes, the nuclear submarine slid into Coulport on Loch Long instead. These exclusive pictures of HMS Vengeance were recorded when a Scotland Today cameraman followed anti-nuclear protesters several miles over rough country from Faslane to Coulport. Vessels usually only come here to take on board the Trident missiles which make up Britain's strategic nuclear deterrent prior to going on patrol.
They can't hide in there forever because the monster lives up there at Faslane and it's got to go home to its lair, whether it's today or tomorrow sometime. That's its base. It's got to go home there and we'll be ready for it.
Several anti-nuclear protesters tried to get close to the submarine. Some took to the water and CND says a few got within 100 metres of the vessel as it sailed up the loch. 5 were arrested. A Ministry of Defence spokesman has refused to comment on the day's events, saying only that HMS Vengeance is still undergoing sea trials and won't officially be a Royal Navy ship until it's commissioned in the year 2000.
A man's in a stable condition in hospital after being shot in front of his daughter at their home in the Rutherglen area of Glasgow. He was shot after 3 men forced their way into the house in Trossachs Road. Police are treating the incident as attempted murder. Meanwhile, a murder investigation has been launched following the death of a man in the city's Knightswood area. Police were called to a house early this morning and found 3 men injured. 24-year-old Craig Gilfillan later died in hospital. And that's all for now. The Scotland Today team will be here with bulletins throughout the weekend and, of course, on Bank Holiday Monday. But for now, though, from everyone here on Friday's Late Team, do have a very good night. Bye-bye for now.
satellite sequence shows that fairly clear skies will continue to be found in most places. A mass of thin cloud will, however, spread across the north, where it will become fairly unsettled at times. Tonight it will stay dry and settled over all areas, with a fair amount of clear spells and light winds, although it will be cold inland. Saturday will start dry with variable cloud, which will allow for widespread long spells of sunshine in most places. In the afternoon it'll be bright, but sunny spells will shorten later, and in light northerly winds temperatures will feel cool. Moving across the central belt now, where tonight will be breezy and cloudy along the coasts, but mostly clear inland, temperatures will not fall below 3 or 4 Celsius. Remaining bright tomorrow morning, but in moderate southerly winds, a few light showers will develop in the Fife and the Lothians areas. These showers should die out in the afternoon. There will be partly cloudy skies and around average temperatures. The outlook remaining dry for the next few days with sunny periods and light southerly winds.
QuickFit, at your service, come rain or shine.
The Gay Exchange is now half price. Call 0894 888899 and take advantage of this great special offer right here, right now.
I'm part cosmetic consultant, part sculptor. My art lives, it moves. Implants, nasal